What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 147, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, Starfield has gone gold, and we have some new details to talk about. Xbox is cracking down on bad behavior. Rest in peace, the Xbox 360 store, and so much more. Before I get to that, let me introduce my co-host, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm doing very well. Slightly different camera angle this week for the video viewers. I lowered it a little bit, and I have a weird split monitor setup now, but we're here. We're ready to rock. We got some good news to dive into, and I've been playing a very interesting game mode that I cannot wait to talk about.
Oh, yeah, I'm interested to hear about it. Yeah, your camera angle. I saw the behind the scenes picture. Like, can I put my camera in the middle of
Yeah.
two monitors? Ooh. I have my ring light in the middle of two monitors, and I was
Oh.
like, you fit it where you can fit it. All right, that's how I look at these things. All right,
Yeah. I
but
don't know. There was something about this that was compelling to where I feel like I can talk more directly to people because I do a lot of things throughout the week. And so I had that weird webcam kind of like top down view because the monitor, it was a big
mhm.
thing. So I toyed around with it and this is where we landed. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Why don't you get that? It is in video where they have the eyes that automatically like. Have you seen that?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I'd be doing one of these, where like
And
I'm
your eyes.
down a little and it's making weird eye cut. Nah, I'll just move the camera. It's fine.
Very strange for sure. But glad to have you here, Sam. Looking forward to a fun show. Remember, guys, we are live every Thursday right here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, usually. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review. Apple, Spotify helps us in the algorithm, helps us grow. We are approaching 100 total worldwide reviews. If you can get us there, that would be great. And it enters you to win that Starfield Premium Digital Deluxe Edition, gets you that 5-day early access. And we are very close to Starfield. I'm drawing the winner on August 28th. So if you want to be entered, you need to get your entries in. It's going to be 10 days if you're an audio listener. We are 10 days away from picking the winner. Get those entries in. Let me know that you have rated us, and you can play playing Starfield a few days early. If you want to support us even more, though, get early access to Save the Game Media content. Head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Bucky Blue, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nikolai Knight, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Snack Network, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, and Alpaca Tom. Thank you for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now that we got the housekeeping out of the way, Sam, let's dive in. I want to hear about this game mode you've been playing in our What You Been Playing segment.
Dude, all right, let me tell you. So I talked last week, played some Callisto Protocol, wrapped it up, finished Dead Space as well last week. And so I was still having a hankering for some more Callisto.
Mm-hmm.
So they added riot mode, and I think this was like an April, maybe March or April release. It was like the in between for the big story DLC that was coming. This was kind of something they threw in there. So I was like, yeah, well, sure, let's go down here and try riot mode. This is the most fun I have had with a round based shooter since
Ooh,
Call of Duty Zombies. I
okay.
mean, it is so much fun, and it takes the chaos of really hectic moments of Callisto where you've got like 5 or 6 different
Mm-hmm.
enemies running at you at once, and it just continuously gets more and more chaotic. But there's like control to the chaos. And so the achievement that I'm currently going for is that you've got to hit round 50. So
Jesus.
yeah, so far I have made it to round 45, and this is like an hour of like time that I'm spending in these things. But it's the basic enemies, and then it goes up to the kind of mid-level enemies, and then the hardcore enemies. Like it mixes everything in there. But I've been having a blast with it, and I mean, it just does everything so well. You can upgrade the guns, you can buy more ammo. It really does feel like what a Dead Space Call of Duty Zombies would be. So I've been having a blast with it. It's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Is it multiplayer, or is it just you by yourself in there?
Full single player, so there's no co-op or anything, which I know is a bummer for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
including, people like you that like to play with other people. But for me, as a single player guy, 9 times out of 10, I didn't even think about the idea of co-op. It really does feel like, oh, I'm stuck in this section of a spaceship, isolated, and I'm just trying to survive. And it really is great. It's so much fun.
That's awesome, man. I have seen no one talk about this game mode, so it's you're spreading the word out there. I
I'm
don't.
trying, man, and I like it's one of those things where it's so good. I literally am going to find time this weekend to write a letter to the devs. Like I'm going to send an email of like, "Thank you for making this because I'm having such a good time with it."
That's
So,
I don't know if you're joking or not, but one of the things I actually like to do is when I think a game is like underappreciated, like reach out on Twitter and let them know, like, hey, I really like this game. I did this for Clive and Wrench. That was a indie 3D platform that came out to I think it scored in the fives on Metacritic, so not like glowing reviews. I loved it. I got the platinum. I reached out to the developer. It's like, I just want to let you know, like, I really love your game.
yeah.
I just like doing that for games that, especially, I feel don't get the attention or the praise they deserve.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I'm really going to send them an email just because, I mean, you're looking at a team that just had to lay off some of its
Hmm.
staff because of the underperformance of the game. And lo and behold, it's one of the better games I've played this year in that vein. So I've been really, really enjoying Riot mode. And then also I started checking out Everspace 2 a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, the new Game Pass drop, and I know
Hmm.
Captain Logan was talking about it in the XEP Discord, but a lot of frame drops, not an
Ooh.
optimized release right on the front end, but they said that the dev kits they were using to test the game on the Series X and the Series S didn't have any problems at all, so it may be something maybe with the new dashboard update or some kind of, like, UX, UI issue, I
Hmm.
don't know what it is, but they're working on it in between the frame drops, really fun space shooter. Kind of just as corny as Chorus. Like if you enjoyed
Cool.
Chorus, you're going to
Yeah.
enjoy Everspace too. So I'm digging it. I'm going to keep going with it, but right now a little bit rough around the edges.
All right. I know they put out a hot patch this morning, I think, hoping to fix
Oh,
some of
nice.
those frame rate drops. So hopefully that has been smoothed out. I did see people jumping into it or trying to. There were some issues, I think, with downloading it even yesterday where it
Yeah.
wouldn't work. I was like, man, this is not how you want to kick off your console launch, especially. And it's a little irony because I'm sure the game is great once you get into it, like you were saying. But the irony is when they announced like that it went live, it was like play the game that's better with Game Pass or like made better by Game Pass, which I think is like a quote they took from their interview with Luke over there at XEP.
Mhm.
And I was like, really the best look when people can't download your game, and then when they do, it's like hitching a bunch right now. So a
Yeah. Well, it
little
was
funny.
also shocking too because I started, so I got stuck on one mission and it was a me problem, not a them problem. Like I just didn't know what to do. So I Googled it and I didn't realize, I guess Everspace 2 has been in early access for like
Hmm.
a long time. So I'm looking at forums for a mission that's 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old at this point, you know? And so after all this time, now you launch and it's got framed. Like I'm not trying to throw shade or anything. And I'm sure that it's fixed now and I'll definitely check it out after the show. But it's a good game. Just needed probably another 12 hours in the oven, I guess. I don't.
Hmm. Yeah, that's on my to play list. But there's quite a few games coming out as we'll chat about. But I beat two games this week, Sam. I beat two games. First one I want to talk about is Venba. So this is a Game Pass game. It's about an hour long, so not a big commitment. I played the entire thing through cloud gaming on my ROG Ally. I was like, I just want to lay on the couch, play something, just chilling. So I booted this up. It's a cooking game about some immigrants that come to Canada, and their son kind of distances himself from like their roots. Like he doesn't want to eat their native food anymore. He wants to change his name to be more Canadian. So it kind of has like a little emotional impact. Story was pretty good there. In between that, you get like cooking mama style cooking things where you have to put the food in the right order and make these dishes where it's very I've never heard of any of the dishes I was making, and at some points I was like, I don't get what I'm doing. I had to like Google it. But for an hour commitment, for if you're like those narrative story type games, like this is a pretty good one to pick up, I think.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we were talking before the show. I'm going on a quick trip this weekend. So I'm leaving tomorrow and coming back Sunday. And so I won't have a ton of downtime, but you
Mhm.
mentioned cloud gaming. I might just throw a controller in the backpack and take it with me just to be able to have something that I don't have to like put a ton of time into, but that still gives me an experience. I think that'd be
Mhm.
neat.
Yeah, I think this would be perfect for that because, like I said, it's not it's a single player like your cooking thing, so that you don't need if there's any latency, like it's fine. It's not going to mess you up or
Right.
anything. The other game I beat was Atlas Fallen, so rolled credits on that, and it took me about a week to beat it. 10 hours is my final playtime, just roughly over that. And that is with me doing quite a bit of the side content. So I did a lot of side quests, a lot of the there's multiple different, they're basically other side quests, but like hunts or whatever you want to call them. Played the full thing co-op. I don't know if that makes it go quicker, but it felt like a very short game where we kind of just blew through it in a few sessions. I still really like the game. I think the combat is fantastic. The builds you can make, especially where my brother was running more of a support build where he would lay down these big barriers that build momentum for you, which increases your damage. And I would focus more on like I'm going to be the one doing the damage. So like attack, defense buffs, just crazy stuff like that. And I loved it. I loved it. The story isn't very good. The final boss is easier than some of like the the mini bosses you have to fight, which I was like, what's going on here? Especially when they made it like a 3D platforming section during the final boss where he's like, don't touch the sand, it'll hurt you. And you have to like jump between platforms. But very cool RPG elements. Just pretty enjoyable. If you're looking for just a fun co-op romp, I still recommend it. Still think it deserves into that high 7 range, but I understand why people are waiting for a sale on this one.
Yeah, I think that it's funny. I'm getting flashbacks to your Sonic Frontiers breakdown of the final boss and how it's easier than some of the other bosses. I think that Atlas Fallen for me is going to be, I don't know why, but I feel like it's going to be kind of like Recore for me, where I let Recore sit for a little while after
Hmm.
launch, and then I picked it up and I was like, wow, this is a really fun, like 7 or 8, I guess. And then I'm probably going to get Atlas Fallen around like, Black Friday or something. Once all of the big games have come out, I'll then loop back and get it for 15 or $20 and then I'll put the time in. But glad you had a good time with it.
Ghostly March in the chat says Recore was awesome. So
Recore was a phenomenal game, very fun.
I've never played it, but yeah, I think I understand people waiting for the Black Friday sales for Atlas Fallen for sure. It kind of got that vibe, but I'm happy that I played it, especially now when I was having some downtime before the big releases come out. And other than that, still chugging along through Trails in the Sky second chapter. I'm about halfway done. That's my lunch break game where I'm like leaning back, ROG Ally, just 30 minutes here and there. It's chapters are a lot shorter than the first game, so I'm making some good progress and I feel accomplished every time I play it. But nothing to really report that. Still great storytelling.
Nice.
Wonderful, wonderful JRPG. But let's dive into the news, Sam, because we got some big news, especially because Starfield, I have it preloaded on my PC and my Xbox because Starfield has gone gold. Announced yesterday, Starfield has officially gone gold. Preload for Xbox Series X and S and Windows PC, as I mentioned, are now live and will be live on August 30th for Steam users. We also got some new info about the game itself. Bethesda devs did a Q&A in their Discord and revealed some details about the game. Firstly, it is confirmed that you can purchase property in all major in-game cities, with some properties being rewards for completing certain activities. They used a winky face when mentioning that. All faction storylines can be completed separately. Joining one faction does not mean you can't do the others. When asked if you could act as, quote, a double agent in the game, the developer said that this is a choice you'll have to make for yourself. While not every mission can be done in a pacifist style, they did confirm there are systems in place to end conflicts without violence. When asked how many companions total are able to be recruited, developers responded with over 20 and confirmed that you will need to pay them to join your crew, but only once. They toyed with having a salary system, but decided one and done. Companions will come with different skills that can affect your gameplay. And finally, developers confirm the return of a jail system if you get caught committing crimes. An example of this is smuggling illegal cargo through security checkpoints. Certain cargo is considered contraband, and if you want it, you're going to have to smuggle it. So, Sam, a lot of information about Starfield. We can start, obviously, gone gold, but we got tons of new information. How are we feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I think that what I'm taking from this Q&A is that this is going to be a Bethesda Game Studios RPG. Like that's what they're describing, it's like the return of the jail system, Skyrim. It's just stuff like that where I think that people going into this expecting something that not that I don't want to say that it's not going to blow other Bethesda Game Studios games out of the water. It very well could. But as somebody who's been disappointed by games like Cyberpunk before, go in expecting what they're going to be able to do. And I think this is setting the expectation really well of like, hey, if you played a Bethesda Game Studios game, it's going to be that, but in space. And so that's what I'm getting from it.
Before I get into it, are you also someone that doesn't like Cyberpunk? Because I don't like Cyberpunk.
I've played probably like 5 hours of it,
Same,
and
same.
it's just like the clunky shooting. It's the same with
Thank
Fallout. It's
you.
the same with Fallout. Yeah,
I
like
knew you were the right man to bring it. Sorry, Ethan. You're over there telling me how good Fallout is. All right, now Sam,
I
good
mean,
good man.
I finished Fallout, and I've like I said, I played like 5 hours of Cyberpunk, and I want to get back. I want to love it. I really want to love it. But even with Starfield, I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this really going to be as good as I need it to be for my personal taste? Like, I don't know if
Mm.
I'm not going to be the guy that's putting in 120 hours. I'll be the guy that like gets through the story, and then if it really plays well, like they say it does, then I'll keep going with it.
Are you because I'm excited for Starfield. It's one of my most anticipated games of this year. I loved Skyrim. I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into that. I'm a little concerned the open world is going to be too much for me to handle. That's my big concern for Starfield. I think everything they're describing here has me more excited, like the fact that you can buy property. I always love doing that in RPGs like Fable. I would love buying all the houses, renting them out to people, becoming some rich crazy landlord. I think the illegal smuggling stuff sounds really neat. So it seems like there's different ways you can play this game, which we always knew there would be because that's trademark of Bethesda RPG, right? Like you can be a good guy, you can be a bad guy. But the fact that like you have to smuggle stuff through these space checkpoints, like how does that even work? I'm interested in the faction storylines. I think the factions are probably the most interesting thing that I've heard so far in terms of like what the story is. Like the fact that there's like space pirates, right? Like that is very cool to me as someone that's a big like Mass Effect fan and loves these space type games. So everything they said here really appeals to me. But Sam, I gotta know, are you gonna do the early access 5 days for Starfield?
I am not. No, I'm going to
Okay.
be the Game Pass guy going in on September the 6th. But I think that what I'm hearing from it is that, and yeah, again, I'm just kind of like gathering from blog
Hmm.
posts and things like that. And I think Todd Howard has had a couple of quotes, but it is the game that you want it to be. Whether you want to be the space pirate, whether you want to be the space cop, whether you want to be like whatever role you want to play, the game is going to let you do that. And so I think that that's what I'm hoping that it does for me, is that I can dive in and just explore this giant universe that they're creating, enjoy the story, and just go off on my own little adventures. I just like I'm not the guy that's going to go buy property on night one as I'm playing this game. Like I'm going to get to those systems, but I really just want to get to the story, and I think it's going to let me
Okay.
do that. So, yeah, I am going in on September the 6th. Are your early access? I would assume.
I I'm debating it, but I'm also thinking like Sea of Stars is the 29th, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any time to play that game. So I think I will ignore all the hype that is sure to be on social media, play Sea of Stars, and jump in on September 6th. Save me some money with the old Game Pass and not buying the premium stuff. I will be playing the game a ton though. Like I said, I have it downloaded on my Xbox, my PC. It's gonna be on my ROG Ally, so I can be playing all over the place. I cannot wait for Starfield. Alpaca Tom in the chat says, "Sea of Stars can wait. Sea of Stars can't wait though." Like I am very excited for Sea of Stars. You
Well,
don't
that's only 10
understand.
to 15 hours, right? They confirmed the playtime, I think, this week of like it's not a huge game, so
That's
it
what
should be digestible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. Like it's not a long game. I can probably beat that before the 6th. So like that gives me a week. Like I could beat that in a week. That's not that long. Um
So is your Starfield plan upended by the Starfield Premium Edition upgrade for Game Pass subscribers? Have you heard about the deal similar to Forza Horizon 5?
yeah, where you pay like the 30 whatever dollars
Yeah.
and then yeah.
So it's 31 bucks and you get access to like the first expansion pack and like all of the other stuff that comes with it. I mean, that's a compelling offer if you're really into it and you want to do that 5 days early.
Is it worth $6 a day to play Starfield early?
Not for me, but
That's it's just a question. I don't
yeah.
may listen. The same thing happened with Diablo, right? Like I got caught up in the hype. I bought the $100 edition and just to play early. Do I regret it? Not really, but now like I haven't touched Diablo in weeks because
Yeah.
like the patches and stuff haven't really been what I was looking for in a Diablo game. So I'm kind of weary of buying in when I'm like I could just wait and save the $30.
Yep, that's I'm doing the exact same thing with a lot of things. I'm trying to like choose where I spend my money very selectively. Like I bought Stray last week, like I said I would after the show. Haven't booted it up yet, but like
Okay.
I wanted to support that project on Xbox. And like with
Mhm.
Starfield, it is Xbox. I don't feel compelled to like throw my money at it and support the small devs, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
how do you feel about the practice of Xbox's first party games having this like 5-day early access like premium like $30 thing for Game Pass subscribers? Because they did it with Forza Horizon 5, as Tom mentions in the chat here.
Yeah, I got the Forza one. I love it just because it gives me the option to get the extra benefit without sacrificing the value Game Pass brings me. So instead of having to buy the $80 or $100 edition of a game that includes the premium stuff, I can still milk that Game Pass freebie and also get the value of what the premium edition would bring. So I think it's a nice in between, and it just drives more revenue for Game Pass subscribers in their little
Mm.
Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm. So that's one of the points I've heard because I've seen some pushback online about this practice where they're like Game Pass games aren't really day one if you sell it to people 5 days early, and I was like, well, it still is. My whole thing is if they do this with first party games, like their big releases, that extra $30 helps subsidize the fact they're putting these 100 million, $200 million games into Game Pass, where PlayStation isn't putting their first party games into PS Plus, right? Because it's just not sustainable, right? We know that Microsoft has kind of been subsidizing Game Pass, but this helps, I think, offset the cost. So for me, I don't view it as a bad thing. Like you get the hardcore people that are like, yeah, I'll spend the $6 a day to play these games 5 days early. That's worth it for them. I'm not going to tell anyone what their money's worth. That's a personal choice, I think.
Yeah, no, totally. I would completely agree. And on top of that, like it's not just the early access. You get that extra DLC, you get
Hmm.
those skins and things like that. And I look at it from like a 30,000 foot view of I'm paying like if I were to buy this, I'm paying $30 to get Starfield Premium Edition. Like that's a deal. You know, like I know you're still charging me, but I can't get you can't give me everything for free. Like that for my 15 or 16 bucks a month. I can't expect the premium edition of every first party game. Like you're getting let's slow down there a little bit, bud. Like you already get EA Play, tons of League, Valorant, all that other stuff, and all the first party games. Like I'll pay you some money.
Especially because it's a first party game, so it's not going to leave the service. Like I could understand if they were doing this for games that like, oh, it's day one and it's like a third party game, and they try to pull this because that's eventually going to leave the service, and then your $30 DLC bundle is useless unless you go buy the game, right?
Mhm.
For this, it's gonna be there. So what you spend in is still going to be valued. It's still going to stick around, and you're not going to lose it at any point.
Totally, totally.
So I'm excited for Starfield. Can't wait to chat with you about it in is it 2 weeks? No, 3 weeks.
3
3 weeks.
weeks.
3 weeks because we're not gonna do the early. But for those that are doing the early, can't wait to hear about it. Let us know your thoughts down below. Let us know if you're gonna do the early access for sure. Drop in the comments or hit us up in the Discord. But let's move into story number 2 there, Sam. Rest in peace, the Xbox 360 store. And I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this as someone that just bought an Xbox 360. So, announced via Xbox Wire on July 29th, 2024, Xbox will stop supporting the ability to purchase new games, DLC, and other entertainment content from the Xbox 360 store. In addition, the Microsoft Movies and TV app will no longer function on Xbox 360, which means TV and movie content will no longer be viewable after this date, meaning if you want to watch this content, you'll need to do so on a Windows device. It is important to note that all games purchased digitally or physically will still be playable after July 2024. You will still be able to play games online and your cloud saves will still work. This will not impact purchasing titles on Xbox One or the Series consoles. So, Sam, how are we feeling another store closing?
Yeah, it's so it's a complex issue, and I was actually recording something earlier today, and I want to pull a quote from Games Radar. So I don't have an issue with the store closing down because it's been almost 20 years. Like, we're getting to a point where they've got to do the back end maintenance. How many people are still actively buying things on 360? The cost of keeping this thing up, it's understandable. But as long as they keep the servers online for the games within reason, like it ultimately is up to the publisher in a lot of cases, but the cloud saves, the modern necessities that require or that modern games require, as long as those are still in place, that's good. My problem is that, according to Games Radar, Wikipedia's last count suggests that out of 2,154 games released in total for 360, only 633 have been made compatible with newer consoles. So, yes, 633 games, again, according to Games Radar, are going to be playable on Xbox One, on Series X, on Series S. But the 2,154 minus 63, whatever that math is, I'll let you guys do that. Like, those games are still requiring a physical edition with a 360. And now they've just become more difficult to buy after
Hmm.
July of 2024. So, those are going to be more lost to time than they were previously. To your question about me having just bought a 360, I bought that thing preparing to buy physical games. I'm not concerned. Like, I knew this was coming. We all knew this was coming. But it still is just a bummer that games are getting more difficult to buy in general in any kind of way.
Yeah. I know there was a recent report that said like only 10% of games made before like 2010 are easily accessible these days. So
Mhm.
it is a game preservation is a major problem digitally. So this is just another example where I think we need to expand backwards compatibility. Like I am all I know there's licensing issues. We need to figure out some way, especially going forward, to avoid that being an issue. And I don't know if that'll ever happen because of contracts and people want to make money. But the fact that there are probably contracts out there that say this game can only be played on Xbox 360, and that is the reason it can't be brought forward through emulation on like newer consoles. That's a bit of a bummer. I don't like that. I would like to see. I don't know if they can go back and amend these contracts. That'll probably cost money, but and it's probably not worth it for them to do it. But as a gamer, as someone that wants games like preserved through history, I would love to see it. This I will say, as someone Sam, and you probably know this because you watch a lot of the same reseller collecting videos that we talked about previously. The price of these games are about to go up next
Oh,
year.
yeah.
The price of these physical games are because we've seen this time and time again. I know the DS store got shut down, the Wii U store, and now you go to try to find those physically. Those prices skyrocket once the digital storefronts go down because the resellers, the people that have them know what they have, which has just become so much more valuable that they can jack the prices up ridiculous amounts. So if you know there are 360 games out there that you're going to want to play in the future, and I'm talking to the royal you, not you, Sam, but it does apply to you. Like
It applies to me. Yeah.
time to start investing. I think like time to just knock some of the maybe the more rare ones off your bucket list, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that, I'm thinking about, and again, these are like the high level ones that aren't your Call of Duties, your Gears of Wars, things like
Hmm.
that. Like, I'm thinking about Warhammer 40K Space Marine, where with the upcoming launch of Space Marine 2, and the fact that it's not backwards compatible, and the fact that the storefront's going to be shutting down next year, come 2024, 2025, Space Marine is going to be shooting up in value. I got it for $8 at Southeast Game Exchange. And it's like, in 5 years, is that going to be worth 25, 30, 40? I don't know what that's going to look like. Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Not a popular game back in the day necessarily, but it's like a sleeper hit, one of those
Hmm.
classics for a lot of people. I have a copy now. You're not going to be able to find that in 5 years' time. And so now, like you said, all these games are going to be going up in price.
Yeah. So I know some of them are on Steam or other digital like platforms to get, but if you want the 360 experience, right? Like you are going to invest in that platform. So I just Googled what the the I was like I was interested. I was like, what are the rarest 360 games? Number 15 is Dead Space Ultra Limited Edition. It goes for $965.
What?
Yeah. Dragon Age Inquisitors Edition goes for 500. The Beatles Rock Band apparently.
Hmm.
Kings of Amalur Reckoning exclusive signature edition. So it's a lot of collector's editions. I was more just Legend of Spyro Dawn of the Dragon. That's number 10.
I've
Just
never
that
even heard of that.
It's when they made Spyro more realistic looking. I don't like the way he looks, but
Oh, I know. Yes, I don't like
when
that one either.
yeah, whenever they wrote this article, it was going for $50. So I can imagine that one will probably go up. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, we've already discussed. Like
Yeah, I've got
this
that
is
metal one.
yeah, this is already a one. Tales of Vesperia Special Edition. I don't think that is rare anymore because it's been re-released 1,000 times at this point.
Well, let me ask
Uh,
you. Let me ask you, Kev. What is the current running value on both of the Burger King pack-in Sneak
yo,
King games? Do those have any kind of value to them right now?
Burger King Sneak King price charting.
Because I've got I think that what it says Big Bumpin', so this is the kart racer, and then I've got Sneak King, which is the actual. I thought that said Big Pimpin', and I was like, man, they really just let the marketing team do what they wanted with that.
So Sneak King, according to price charting, the complete price is $3.99.
Ah, devastated.
uh, if you get it graded, it can go for 6.
Well, I think that considering this was a loose disc that was packed in with the 360 that I bought for free, I can't imagine it's got a ton of value.
Oh yeah, so I'm just saying, everyone out there listening, if you're looking for 360 games, go grab them. Hit the garage sales, hit the Macari, hit the eBay, stock up now. Especially if you're a reseller, because you'll probably be hoarding them, and then you can make some cash. But Tom says, "I love Sneak King."
Yeah, no, I mean, they're like relics of their time. It's just one of those nostalgic things where I play Sneak King and I just think about Burger King onion rings and Vault, the energy drink. And that's just a 2008 time capsule is what that is.
I feel like that was the time when like Burger King had chicken fries, and I would
Yeah, the
go and
chicken fries
go
came
get
out.
the
Yep.
chicken fries and get my Sneak King disc. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? I think it's the it was one of my Jeopardy questions. Oh yeah, I should pin that. If you guys are on Patreon at the $5 and up tier, or you want to be, the second episode of Host versus Host, our gaming trivia show, is now live. I'm not going to spoil it, but you can go listen to that or watch it, however you prefer. It'll go live for all patrons at every level in next quarter when we do the next one. So that'll be a lot of fun. I will say, my tangent there was because one of my questions that I originally did for our first edition was, what are the top 3 highest selling original Xbox games? And it's Halo, Halo 2, and then Sneak King.
Very nice. Love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Great stuff. Let's keep it rolling. Xbox is cracking down on bad behavior with a new enforcement strike system. So you better behave on Xbox Live. Xbox has announced a new strike system to punish players for inappropriate activity on Xbox Live. The new system is meant to give players a better understanding of enforcement severity and the cumulative effect of multiple enforcements. The new system is described as being similar to the point system that's used for many driver's licenses. As example is that a player with 2 strikes will be suspended for 1 day, 4 strikes equals 7 days, and if you reach 8 strikes total, you will be suspended from all Xbox social features for 1 year. Strikes stay on a player's record for 6 months, but every player starts with a blank slate. Sam, how are we feeling about this?
Can't do the time, don't do the crime. I mean, like, this is one of those things where they need to have a system in place and they've laid it out for you. And if you violate it, then, you're playing on their platform, you play by their rules. And I think that it's good to be able to keep the community safe. And I also think it's important to drive home. I've seen a lot of commentary online of like, oh, they're trying to ruin my game nights, they're trying to ruin my Call of Duty lobby. Listen, if these rules are laid out and you think you're going to have a problem with it, I think you need to do some inner soul searching and think about what you're saying in your online game chat, because the problem, my friend, might be you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know if this was during the 360 days, there would be no Call of Duty lobbies. Everyone would have been
Literally
banned. Okay.
desolate for a year. Every like, it's just a cycling year cycle of like, why is everybody back online? They just got unbanned.
My friends and I, we used to go into Call of Duty lobbies, and while everyone else was being like racist and mean, we would just play the Hulk Hogan theme song from the WWE, over like blasting it through mics. Or our friend had a harmonica that he would just play into the microphone, and like that's how we were trolling people. We were never doing the awful stuff that gets people banned, like Gears of War sending me pictures of their genitals. All right, I don't. You're all wild out there. This is a necessary system. Okay, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get something in place to calm everyone down from being racist and weirdly sexual on Xbox. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great system in place, and like the more they can do to protect players and just let them have a good time, I think that is the key. That's the balance they've got to strike. And you've got again 8 strikes. You've got 8 chances to be a good person before they're like, "Hey, see you next year." And then by that time, the 360 store will be shut down, and you can't even buy 360 games anymore. Then they ruin your life. They ruin your life as a vulgar collector.
Yeah, Ghostly March brings up, and yet my avoid rating was 90% LOL because I don't know if I think this was this an I think it was Xbox 360, Xbox One generation where they had the avoid, and like it was kind of a screenshot of like, do you quit early? Are you like a good
Yeah,
sportsmanship? But it was affected by like random reports that other players would do. So if you were just better than them, you would get like this guy's like, and then you would trash your thing and make it harder to find matches. So I think this system is meant to kind of fix some of those problems where you can lose your strikes, like they'll drop off after 6 months. It's no longer you do a certain amount and that's forever on your record. Like you can be reformed.
yeah.
So good system for me. Not much more to talk about there. But what I do want to talk about is the awesome Game Pass update that we got. So available right now, you can play Firewatch for cloud console PC. Tomorrow, August 18th, we get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for cloud console PC. August 29th, Sea of Stars for cloud console PC. September 5th, Gree for cloud console and PC. So a little shorter list, but some good entries here, I think. Sam, how are we feeling?
Is it pronounced Gree? Is
I
that
think
really?
so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Wow, I've been saying Grizz for like
No, it's
5
like
years.
French or something.
Oh, okay, Gree. Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know now. Anyways, clearly I know a lot about that game. Firewatch is cool. I think this was on before
It
and I
was.
never finished it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back and definitely finish that by the time that it leaves. I've been hearing great things about Texas Chainsaw Massacre from like I know I saw Miles Dompierre talking about how he was really enjoying it. But that one's going to be cool just because it switches up the current structure of like one of the asymmetric horror games where instead of it being one versus a group, it's like group versus group. So might be a little bit more balanced there. But of course, like Sea of Stars, like that's the one out of this
Hmm.
lineup that I think a lot of people are looking at. And it's cool that it's also on PlayStation Plus Premium as well. Like it's not
Yes.
just a Game Pass get more games for more players is always great.
Yes, absolutely. I'm super happy for Sabotage Studios because I think Sea of Stars is kind of really with this marketing blown everyone away, and like the way it looks and the promise of what this game is. I think people know it's going to be special, especially Xbox and PlayStation. They're shipping out the money to get it on the subscription services day one. So if you're over there on Nintendo, you're gonna have to pay for it, but I think it would be a good Switch game. I'm just glad that like I'm gonna be able to play it on my ROG Ally, on my Xbox, back and forth. Like that's gonna be perfect. Texas Chainsaw, though, that's another big one for me. I think this game looks like a lot of fun. It's currently sitting on a 78 on Open Critic with 62% recommended. Some strong reviews coming out the gate. There are a few issues here and there when you read it, but I'm going to be playing this. I might get a review code for it. I know those are going out tomorrow. So shout out to our friends over at Evolve PR. I'm pretty sure they'll be sending me one. So I'm going to be playing it. I know my brother's going to check it out. My friend's going to check it out. So Sam, I might be hitting you up if you want to join some Texas Chainsaw, and
Yeah.
we can have a good time. All right.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where it is going to be not that you have to have friends to play it, but it's definitely going to be one of those ones.
Enhanced.
Yeah, like any kind of Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, which I think it's the team behind Friday the
Hmm.
13th. So it's like if you enjoyed that game, it's going to be the same kind of thing with Texas Chainsaw and a couple of changes there. So
Yeah.
yeah, hit me up once it drops on Game Pass. I'll be down to check it out next week.
Awesome. Yeah. And they promised this won't have the same fate as Friday the 13th, which obviously is being delisted, I think, at the end of this year and then going offline totally end of next year, I believe is the timeline for that. But they just have so many licensing issues with Friday the
Yeah.
13th as a property. I actually really enjoyed Friday the 13th for what it was, but I'm excited to see their twist on the Texas Chainsaw. So really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Do we know when the embargo drops for Sea of Stars? I do not know when the embargo drops for Sea of Stars. I assume that's what you're talking about, because we know Starfield is the day before. It's on the 31st. Texas
Mhm.
Chainsaw's already out, so I imagine it might be end of next week or Monday before it comes out. So keep an eye on that. And finally, our final story, maybe a quick one, but Embracer Group's failed $2 billion deal mystery investor has finally been revealed. So, as discussed previously on this podcast, the Embracer Group recently had a $2 billion deal fall through and subsequently have started to downsize. Well, Steven Totillo over at Axios has the report on who the previously unknown partner was. According to his report, the Saudi government funded Savvy Games Group were the partner. Saudi Arabia recently revealed their plans to invest more than $38 billion into the video game industry. So this raises the question as to why they pulled out of the deal. Sam, what are your thoughts on this? I thought this was a very interesting revelation because I know people are throwing around, oh, was it Microsoft? Was it Amazon? But it turns out Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those ones where we'll never know the full breadth of like what happened behind the scenes to make this thing fall apart. But number one, tough for Embracer Group because they were betting a lot on that deal going through. But at the same time, there's always that question of like, it's Saudi Arabia. What's going on with the why are they getting in the gaming
Hmm.
industry? It's kind of got that same vibe as like a Tencent, but I feel like I don't know why. Personal opinion. When I hear Saudi Arabia, I'm just like, that sounds a little worse than Tencent because that just feels nefarious for some reason. I don't know. But any kind of government involvement in what is our passion, our industry, always feels a little bit iffy. And so looking at this, part of me is like, good that Embracer Group, who had a lot of power over a lot of these things, didn't come to the point where they're getting or they're impressionable based on the desires of a government body.
Hmm.
But also, we see them selling off a ton of stuff. We see studios getting put on the back burner. We see people eventually getting laid off, rolling that throughout the course of the next year. So, like, nobody wins here. It's just a bad situation all around. But, it's one of those ones that'll just be in the history books of how the gaming industry came and went. I'm sure that we'll see more articles come out. Jason Schreier's probably doing some digging right now, trying to figure out more about what went down here.
Yeah, I would love to see a deep dive from one of those investigative journalists. But I listen. It sucks for Embracer that they didn't get the cash influx they needed because, like I said, I root for Embracer because I think they have some teams over there that are promising. They're in that in a double A space that I think with some tender love and care, maybe they can start making games that like kind of impact the industry more than they have so far. So losing $2 billion is not a small amount of money by any means. However, when I saw it was Saudi Arabia and the Savvy Games Group, I was kind of glad it didn't happen. And as you were saying, we kind of get that icky feeling when we see that, and that's because Saudi Arabia doesn't really have the best reputation for a lot of things, right? Like they some journalists getting killed in their embassy a few years ago. Lots of censorship. Tom in the chat points out like when the WWE goes over there, like the women have to wear much different clothing when they go to the ring. Like it's a very different culture. They censor a lot of LGBTQ plus stuff. So I'm kind of okay with them not doing this. And we see this in some Tencent and NetEase and Chinese invested games as well, where you can't mention Taiwan. Like if you have a mention of Taiwan in your game, you can't, they'll make you take it out. Guilty Gear Strive was an example of that, where they're not even owned by them and they took it out just like, oh, we want to publish it in China, so let's not do that. So we already see this on a smaller level. If you're investing 2 billion, I can only imagine the control they might like put on some of those developers to have certain material removed or things injected into those games. So sucks for the people losing their jobs and the overall like Embracer group. But I think gamers as a whole, I think this is probably a benefit, this deal not going through.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a good point about Embracer Group. I know that we all talk about how they're like scaling up so quickly, they're gobbling people up left and right. But I Googled it, like, what kind of franchises does Embracer Group own? And so the list that The Verge has from, and this is an article from 2022, so it could be more now, but Little Nightmares 2, Goat Simulator, Destroy All Humans, Time Splitters, Time Cop, Darksiders,
Hmm.
Saints Row, Duke Nukem, Borderlands, Valheim. And the ones that that stand out to me are Darksiders, Valheim, Time Splitters, Destroy All Humans. Like, if you had told me 6 years ago that we'd be getting a Destroy All Humans remake and a Destroy All Humans 2 remake, that's where Embracer Group shines for me, is that they have the capital to make these dream games happen for people. Like, if they came out and said, "Hey, Time Splitters is getting a remake," that's not going to be a large group of people that is like freaking out over that, but it would be cool to see happen because of what it means for a small niche audience. And so Embracer's done really well with that, on top of having things like Killing Floor, Borderlands, etc., under their roof. So hopefully they get back on their feet, and it sounds like they'll definitely be consolidating, but at
Hmm.
the end,
They've
hopefully
already
we have a,
started.
yeah, hopefully we'll have a more focused Embracer Group that can continue doing what they've done well, even if they do have to scale back in the short term and not do so much of it.
Yeah, that list doesn't even include the studios they recently bought from Square Enix. Like now they have Tomb Raider under their belts and the Legacy of Kain series. Like they have more stronger IP. And Sam, I gotta tell you, Polygon back in 2021, a new Time Splitters game is in the works. Deep Silver
Oh,
confirms. So they're making it. They're making the dreams come true. As long
they
as they don't
are.
get shut down. As long as they don't get shut down,
Do they still own Tomb Raider?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
they own Tomb Raider.
yeah, because I see this Insider Gaming thing that says, and again, Insider Gaming TBD, like if it's real or not. But they said Tomb Raider franchise rights allegedly bought by Amazon for 600 million. I feel like they sold them.
Did they?
I just remember this article from February, so take it with a grain of salt. You can correct us in the comments, correct me in the comments specifically, but yeah, I think that those franchises might be moving around a little bit.
Oh. You know what it was? Maybe they did they buy the oh man, now I'm confused because we definitely talked about that on the show, but I feel like there was like a asterisk that's like Embracer still gets to make the games or something.
Yeah, maybe. I see this thing from December of last year that says Amazon Games and Crystal Dynamics strike deal to develop and publish next major entry in iconic Tomb Raider series. So maybe that's what I'm thinking of, is that they got the
Mm.
publishing rights.
I don't know. Let us down below. I don't have the wherewithal to figure that out right now, but they still have some strong IPs. That's the
They
bottom
do.
line, especially like I said, the double A range. They can knock it out of the park. But good luck to Embracer. I am glad that the Saudi Arabia didn't get the investment personally. Ghostly March movie rights are different than game publishing rights for Tomb Raider, so it sounds like they have the movie rights. Anyway, Sam, let's jump into some listener questions to wrap up the show here. So, question number one comes from Taylor. He said, behind the closed doors of Patreon, Sam admitted that he may know the amount of teeth on Forerunner mandibles from Halo. What other weird gaming fun facts like that do you both know? What a
Gosh, off the top
weird
of my head.
question. What a weird question. Um, I'll give you some time to think. I don't know how your definition of fun fact might not be my definition of fun fact. Like, because I know fun facts of like, oh, if you crouch and jump on a certain spot in Halo 2 maps, you'll do super jumps and like bounce across,
Yeah.
or like you can glitch out of maps. And like, are those fun facts? Is it a fun fact that like if you're playing Tales of Symphonia and you switch to Zelos and talk to women, they give you free items. If you're Colette and you talk to dogs, she'll name all the dogs. Like, are those fun facts? I don't know.
I think those are cheats, I think is what you're
Those are
describing.
cheats.
They're just cheats. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, like, I don't really know any fun facts beyond like, I feel like I know a lot about how the games come together, like how Steve Vai was just riffing on the Halo 2 theme, and all of a sudden it just came together and they were like, that sounds pretty good. Let's just go with that. Like, there's just this 45-minute video of him, the guitarist for the Halo 2 theme song, just going for the Milner mix, and he just like shreds it. And they're like, all right, clip it, ship it, we're done. But I don't know. I would have to figure out like it's one of those things where they pop up, and it's like whenever I'm 95 and I have Alzheimer's and I'm in an old folks home, that's when the hidden facts about the gaming industry will pop out of my head, and I'll just say things randomly in the mornings where it's just like, oh, there are 100 orbs in Jack and Daxter, like I don't know what'll
Ooh,
come out.
100 hours. Alpaca Tom, I consider it fun. LOL. Fun fact: killing the hobo in Like a Dragon gives a lot of XP. That is factual. If you want to boost your level, just go into the sewers, find the homeless people, and then there's an item you got to use to make sure they don't run away, so then you can beat them up.
Ah,
Yeah, fun fact. Fun
yeah,
fact.
life skills.
Well, let's move on to Thrak, who says, "What franchise could be the fourth big IP from Microsoft, with Halo, Gears, and Forza being the stereotypical three? My money's on Fable. It could have been, but they kind of dropped the ball. Hopefully, the reboot puts it back up there."
I mean, like, I think that we got to take a step back and say we're not including Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, like all of those. We're not going to
Mm-hmm.
include Call of Duty. We can't say those
Mm-hmm.
things. So, looking at like what they could fundamentally out of the core lineup that they have coming, I mean, Fable's a really good option. I feel like Forza is also realistically up there, but if you're looking for like names and faces that you can identify with and the personal feeling, I think Starfield could be that. I don't know if it's going to be like a recurring franchise entry though. Like if Starfield's coming out in 2023, we're not going to get a Starfield 2 until what, 2035? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's literally the date I had in my brain.
Yeah, like it's going to be a long time. So I don't know what they could have beyond like your Fables. I mean, any of the new games, Clockwork Revolution we talked about last week, but anything they showed off that's new coming from the team that's not in that indie level, I think could easily be a contender. I also think I would actually change all of my answers I just said to Hellblade. I think Hellblade could
Hmm.
be there. Like Senua is up there with Chief, with Marcus Phoenix. Like that's an icon that
I
you
would
have in your
love
lineup.
that. I
Yeah.
would love that so much. I'm really rooting for Hellblade 2. I hope it blows everyone away like I'm expecting it to. If it can reach that echelon where it's like, okay, this is gonna be one of our mainstay IPs going forward, that would be fantastic for me because I genuinely think there's so much storytelling that you could do with that character. But I've always considered Fable to be the fourth big franchise in Xbox's IP, and that's because like it was so big in the Xbox One and 360 generation. But the fact that it has fallen off, like if you had to list it now, I don't know how many people would list Fable. So
Yeah.
if we're not counting, like I said, not counting the big Bethesda ones that already exist, because at that point we have a list of top 10, right? Like Alpaca Tom, Crash Bandicoot, the fourth big franchise. Don't even
Obvious.
get me started, bro. Like I would love Crash Bandicoot to be up there. Banjo Kazooie, I would love to come back into relevance. These things are never going to happen. So for me, I think I'm going with Hellblade. I hope. I think Fable has the best shot of being that series because it has the history. And if they nail the reboot, then we get like, oh yeah, the other ones are so good, and like it kind of cements Fable along with the other games in that they named, like Halo, Gears, Forza.
Yeah, I do think that with the acquisitions like Bethesda and Activision, I think that it is going to stifle some of the newer games from getting that moment in the limelight of like, you know, it could be said that during the Xbox One generation, Crackdown 3 was considered to be up there with the Halos, with the other ones, where it's like in their marketing materials, that was thrown up there a lot. And so now looking at let's say a new Crackdown comes out and it's really, really
Let's
good.
go. Yes.
Yeah, like, let's say it's really, really good. You and I, we're gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, sick, new Crackdown." On the marketing campaign, you're gonna have Chief, Marcus Phoenix, Captain Price, Doom Guy, Mama from Diablo. Like, you're gonna have a Lilith. There we go. Like, you're
Mama
gonna have
from the. I was like, cooking mama? What is we talking about?
you're gonna have all of the icons up there that are from the big people they've been buying. You're not gonna have Crackdown. You're not gonna have Terry Crews as Crackdown man up there. You know, it's just not gonna have Diablo Mama.
Diablo. Crackdown 3 underrated. I stand by on this. I will
It's
die on
solid.
this hill.
If
It's
you,
a
yeah.
fun game. All right, Luke Lore. I know you stand with me, Sam. We got a little army here.
You just
Crackdown
gotta
3.
set the expectation. Go in expecting a really low level, just jumping around collecting stuff and shooting things, and that's Crackdown.
I know when you like, it's funny because when you Google like Xbox Game Pass, you see that image that always has like Master Chief. It has like Laura Croft in there. I was like, these aren't like, is this? It was definitely made during the Xbox One generation where
Yeah,
I'm like, we have
100%.
no IPs that we're throwing random people on here.
Yep,
All right.
that's what it's like, man.
All right, let's round out the questions. Alpaca Tom says, name one piece of content in Starfield that you're especially interested in trying and why.
Piece of content. I mean, I don't know if this counts as a piece of content, but I talked about it earlier in the show. I want to feel how the game plays as far as the shooting mechanics go. Like out of all of the things in Starfield, like you've got the shipbuilding, you've got the planet exploration, you've got the combat, the space combat, but I want to feel how those guns feel. And that's what's going to be the deciding factor of if I spend 50 hours with this game or 150. Because if the
Mhm.
game feels fun to play, and I don't mind, like if I have 30 minutes, I go, shoot up a settlement, loot some stuff, and go sell it at the shop. If it feels good to play, then I'll play more of it. So I think that's my biggest hope is that the shooting is good. I'm excited.
I want a good relationship building system with my
Mm,
companions. That's I always like that in video games. I expect most people to be like, "Oh, I want to make a Optimus Prime ship or whatever," and I'm like, "That's a little overwhelming for me. I don't know if I'm creative enough to like do that." The same with the outpost stuff. Like, that's really not my jam in these times of games. If I can set it and forget it, I'm hoping, but relationship building. That's what I'm looking for with the companions.
yeah, that'll be solid. Also, I have to a viewer question since I'm watching the show as we make it. I have one. Um, are you a hardcore character creator guy? Are you going to go hard in customizing your guy, or are you going to be like me and just hit the randomizer button and then change a couple things and then off to the stars I go?
So I will choose my perks and like backstory, right? Because I wanna
Of
have
course,
like
yeah.
the perks I want. In terms of what he looks like, I honestly don't care in the slightest. I really do not spend much time in character creators. Like, I watched a friend of the show, Sean Capri, start Baldur's Gate like 2 weeks ago. He spent an hour and a half in the character creator, like getting everything perfect. I'm like, I could never do this. I will
No.
spend 5 minutes being like, that's good enough. Let's go. Because Mass Effect, I've always played default Shepard. I never change anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way where it's like if I'm going in, I'm going for crew cut, brown hair, white guy, looks like me. And then like that applies to any kind of thing. Like I'm just setting it to what resembles me so that I can know that that's me in the cutscenes. And then I'm off. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing else thought about there. But to your point, like I am definitely picking perks, backstories, things like that. But I'm not spending the hour. I saw a ton of people that were like, my first hour of Starfield is going to be making my character. I'm like, really?
Why? Like, there's things to do. There's
That's
game to
crazy.
play, right?
Yeah, that's
Especially
wild.
if I'm wearing a suit and like like who cares? You're not gonna be able to
Yeah.
see him half the time.
It's like if somebody said, "Hey, you want to customize how your Spartan looks in Halo?" Not really. Don't care.
I
Gonna
changed the
have a helmet on.
color. I'm like, I want to be red instead of
Yeah,
green. That's all I
yeah.
care about.
I'll
Really.
change the armor, but I mean, like as far as like facial structure goes, it's like, what do you want your John 117 to look like? Yeah, I don't care. Just throw him in there. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. No, the biggest I get made fun of for this when I play FIFA. My character, I'm like, oh, it looks like me, and then I'll play with my friends, and they'll be like, "Why are you some random Arab dude? You don't look like you at all." And I was like, "This looks just like me. What are you guys talking about?"
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Ghostly March says, "I'm making my character dot 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 dot." Yeah, listen. I assume most people will. It's just not
Yeah.
something perks backstory, what they look like. I don't. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
no, I mean, like, and I'm not ragging on people that are spending all that time making their characters. Like, they've built these tools for years for you. Like, they
Hmm.
are there for you to get in there and do the thing. And I think that's again going back. Like, that's what I hope about Starfield is that if I do want to hit the high levels and just hit the campaign and cruise through and then go to the next thing, I'll be able to do that and not feel like I've been gypped. But if I want to spend thousands of hours, there's going to be plenty of content, mods, things to do. So they're hitting it for everybody. So that's awesome. Dig in
Yeah.
there, do all the stuff.
Yep.
Blonde eyebrows. I don't know. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. I'm a change hair, change the haircut, give a beard, blue eyes, and then make the hair black or brown, and then we're probably good to go. That's
Yep.
just, as long as I don't have stupid ears or nose, because some games you get like a honker on your face. All right, it's
Mm.
crazy. But Sam, that'll do it for this week's show. Thanks for hanging out with me as always. You want to let everyone know where they can find you and your wonderful content.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Threads. Still rocking the Threads, but you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm making content throughout the week, throwing up shorts, throwing up podcasts, and yeah, it's always a good time at JamPackSam. Anywhere you are, I'll probably be there.
Awesome, awesome. You can find me over on X, still over there at the Muffin Mon. That's a 1-7I and 0-7A. Follow us at Save Game Media over on X. Make sure, like I said, get those reviews in, tweet them at Save Game Media, or come join the Discord. The link is down below. Let me know you did it, and then you're entered to win Starfield. We will see you next week, though, 1 week closer. Goodbye.